Welcome back to some professional StarCraft 2. A highlight match with one of the most highlightable players. Let me introduce, in the blue, the Terran player. It's Micro Jackson. ByuN. Up against the definite underdog, making the occasional splash, but mostly just dreaming of greater success. The Protoss player, Nightmare. I have it on good authority that this game doesn't end quickly. It doesn't end easily. Or, you know, I'm going to make an assumption it does end. But, another assumption. Hopefully, if you enjoy the commentary, you enjoy the games, and always good games for the fans you like. And if you haven't made it there yet, potentially subscribe. Because that is always the focus here. But what is the focus of the early game for Nightmare? Some form of aggression. He sent the first adept already across. ByuN suspicious. He put his first command center, or his first expansion on the high ground. Has already walled off. Nightmare is going with... It's just 3 gates. He's just going 3-gate adept. With no fixins here. No glaives, no Stargate. Oh my. He was building a power. Did ByuN see it? There was a proxy pylon. ByuN is very suspicious of Nightmare. Playing it very safe here. He hasn't scouted. He's got the scout car now. Can he... I don't know if that adept bars the way, but the fact there are 2 more gateways and an adept blocking them might be enough to give him the information he needs. Another proxy pylon. What are you doing, Nightmare? Yeah, ByuN scouring the map. A bit suspicious, to say the least. There really shouldn't be a pylon there right now. Just a whole bunch of... You can't just make adepts. Well, might be able to catch him off guard. Takes out the scouting Hellion, but... essentially, ByuN found everything he needed to see. He saw everything there was to see. There's not much else, just a bunch of adepts. And a proxy pylon. It's just a bunch of adepts shading in. The bunker is about to complete. If he can delay the bunker, that might be an opportunity. Gets into the mid. No, ByuN! No, you can't just leave the door open! You're inviting in! Well, I don't know if that was intentional, but so many more adepts. I don't think anything that gets 10 SCVs killed is intentional, or at least you don't want to claim it is afterwards. The adepts will die. 3 more coming in. That is an obscene, an unconscionable amount of damage for just a bunch of random. But he had every opportunity to close the door in their face. It makes me think he was trying to trap at least some of them, but then 10 adepts or so come shading in. Well, 6 have been lost so far. No recall, Nightmare. Those adepts were sent out to get as much damage as they could, and he got a lot more than I think he bargained for. Probably just wanted to deny the natural. Now, here comes ByuN. He picked up, and of course he sent the medevac towards the main. Down goes the medevac itself, but are we gonna see probes microed out of the prism? Trying to save some of the probe. Beautiful probe prism micro. The PPM, if you would. Already both players kind of cutting deep into the mineral lines. Here comes some tanks. So this is the kind of game... a Banshee? A Banshee? I think he expected a lot more adepts than this. But a handful of stalkers against an uncloaked Banshee, easily able to take it out. Zealots warped in, just Zealots. There's no anti-air. He's juggling beautifully with the prism. What a mess already. Trying to dodge... Well, you can't really dodge the tank hits, as they are essentially hit scan. Oh my god, he's just warping it on top. Well, that was a bit much. That was very cute there. Trying to warp in adepts to tank the damage. The stalkers could potentially kill the tanks, but instead Nightmare just loses everything. And the tanks will get away. So, where are we now after that cluster of an opener? And one of the tanks needs desperately to be repaired. Nightmare sees it. The prism chasing down. They're not going to leave each other alone, it seems. As Nightmare doesn't have a third, here comes a turret. No hint of a shield battery. Meanwhile, into the main. Charge isn't quite done. I believe the Templar Archives was spotted. He's going for Storm here. Third base on the way now. There were 2 Stalkers in the Prism. Is there any response to that? It's recall time. He's got to be quick about it. Thankfully, no Marines were able to get the damage done. Okay, there's a shield battery in the main. Nightmare now at 46 workers to 40 of ByuN. What a mess to kick things off. Up in each other's faces. Honestly, some of it was welcomed. I'm still wondering about those Adepts getting into the main. That was so much damage. Though he did kill the Adepts, so I guess mission accomplished on that. Nightmare with one of the most kind of haphazard yet effective builds I've seen against ByuN. Now he's got his army is 4 High Templar, a Prism, 2 Zealots, and 3 Stalkers. When High Templar are the most numerous unit in your army, you know what? I don't know. I don't know how I was going to follow that up. But it's worthy of note. As the Templar deciding who gets a first-class pass in the Prism and who gets to stay home today. Usually High Templar are not really a work-from-home sort of unit, but times are changing. Meanwhile, well, everybody kind of slowed down as they seemingly ran out of units to kill each other with. That was the major stopping block here. As ByuN was forced back with just his tanks, and Nightmare had nothing but a few Templar. But now, rebuilding again, or building, I guess, the first time. There are 8 warp gates online, as well as that robotics facility. ByuN has 5 barracks and a 3rd command center matching that nexus. The charge lots are on the field, able to swing forward. And now, both players have enough of an army to both risk something of a drop and a potential all-out attack. Ghosts in production. ByuN did see the Templar Archives earlier. Ghosts are never a bad choice against Protoss, but they're even a less bad choice. They're even a less not bad choice. Okay, I'm gonna stop. It's time to stop. I apologize. Formally and informally. Sorry, bro. For all of that. But ghosts are good. That's the summary. ByuN even using, it looks like the Nova Covert Ops ghost. Very fancy. The most covertist. Stop it. Stop. Stop it. Oh. Edit that out, Jimmy. Meanwhile, the Robos are kind of... I'm not sure this is ID. He's pretty much walled off the edge of the natural here. Nightmare with only a tiny path to move units around, so hopefully ByuN doesn't get there with medevacs, I say. Foreshadowing. Meanwhile, Zealot. Jason, did you know a Zealot is about the same speed as a Stim Marine? Drugs are a hell of a drug. Well, here come the Templar and the Prism, just giving it away, intimidating that Marine. Now ByuN knows what he's up against. Feedback. Storm on the front. Testing the waters here. Not finding them particularly amenable. Nightmare, double Robo Colossus, as well as a Dark Shrine on the way. So we're being dragged, kicking and screaming, psionically or otherwise, into a macro game. The proxy pylon that started all this aggression, still intact here. Scan, not a particularly intimidating army. So ByuN gonna think about, he's at least gonna be able to get the pylon. He's got Nightmare setting up some spylons now around the edges. They don't cost nearly as much, supply or otherwise, as the Observer. Oh my god, the Interference Matrix locks down the Templar, knocks him out, the most valuable possible pick-off here, and ByuN just swipes it out of the sky, and with it, any chance of Nightmare coming across with an attack. Wow! Dispatched, executed, or just surgically excised. That was about perfect there. So ByuN just bought himself plenty of space to get the 4th base, to fill out the rest of his army. It's +2, +1 on the way for infantry, as well as +1 ship weapons for mech. Nightmare with +2 on the ground as well, but the Protoss army is oftentimes more focused on the weapons upgrades and the splash damage as opposed to armor. As the way it works against Terran much of the time is you do as much damage as you can at the start of the fight, because as time goes on and the medevacs start to heal, and as do the medevacs. What did I just say? The medevacs start to heal and the DPS of the bio army really comes through. So ideally you land those Ruptor shots, those storms early on, force the Terran back so you can run over the rest of the army. It does seem almost no one's going to be running over anything right now, as ByuN is fortifying his 4th. Couple Widow Mines here will knock out the Zealots. Looks like a defensive planetary setup here as well. Nightmare embracing it. 3 Stargates on the way. On the other side, a fusion. Well, it's probably for advanced ballistics, but one can dream. +2 infantry weapons about to complete. ByuN scans every important thing there is to see. 3 Stargates, an upgrading Dark Shrine, double forge. And he says, well, you're not going to be attacking me with anything meaningful anytime soon. Builds 5 more command centers at a time. Oh my god, ByuN. Yeah. 5 more. I don't even know. Does he even have space for that? There's one over here. He just finished up one on the... Where is he building these? Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. There's plenty of space in the main. What? Is he shoot? Is that intentional? No, that was not intentional. Nightmare is neither maxed out nor wants to switch his unit composition. He just clicked his own Ruptor. It failed him. The price of failure is quite high in Nightmare's army. Well, all the tech on the way. 14 minutes in. Okay, I don't... He's just killed his own High Templar. It's becoming concerning. High Templar was just kind of sitting there. No laziness here. Anti-armor missile combined with EMP. Disruptors. Chasing ByuN. Actually find a chunk. ByuN not expecting Nightmare to chase him down on the field. But Nightmare curves those Ruptors around the corner. They saw what happened to the other guy. They are out for blood. 3 carriers on the way. 4 Liberators as well. The command center count goes directly over 10. As 3 more orbitals on the way. Yeah, that's going to bring us to like 10 or 12 command centers. Classic. Classic ByuN. Not even observers can get in. No high-sec auto-tracking quite yet. ByuN going to work his way in towards the... I think that was the 3rd base here of Nightmare. Vikings in position. Disruptor not quite enough. Vikings knocking down a Colossus. Disruptor forces a split. Catches a ghost. Rapid reignition thrusters on the way as ByuN picks up and heads for the main. Oh no, that Templar does everything it could. Feedback, storm, but it's not going to be nearly enough to stop this army. Nightmare heading to the other side. There's just some Templar out on the field. Gets EMP'd, but also lands a storm. Disables some of the production, but carriers have arrived. And actually, the carriers might be enough. There's limited anti-air with a few Templar. Lands another storm. 1 EMP isn't enough. The storms, you can hear the ghost dying, but the carriers will chase down the medevac, and it's taken out of the sky. Beautifully done. Nightmare actually... ByuN may have forgotten about the potential for carriers here, as he just dove in right towards the main, even before that rapid reignition system, which is medevac speed plus boost cooldown. And Nightmare sweeps him out of the sky. Of course, that doesn't mean ByuN is in any way bad position. He has plenty of economy. In fact, he may want to consider soon Yeah, the mule's dropping now. He may want to consider trading out some of those SCVs. Ooh, the disruptors. This is... the ghost's a little far forward here. Gonna get hunted down by the Ruptor shots. The Liberators, though, will zone out much of the rest of the ground. And Nightmare will retreat back to his corner. Advanced Ballistics Liberator. Siege is up the top left. And that's going to be annoying, but not nearly impossible to dislodge. You can, of course, warp in the Stalkers, or if he positions it right, it's going to require air units to deal with. Well, I'm not exactly sure if that is untouchable, but close enough. Scouting Ruptors. There's +2 ship weapons right now on the Liberators. That combined with the EMP on the Ghosts means it's going to be quite difficult, and that's an understatement, for the carriers to find a nice... to find a fight where the Interceptors won't get wiped out easily. I'm also surprised we don't see high-sec auto-tracking or Neo-Steel armor quite yet, as those turrets and buffs to them are definitely helpful. Though, the TPM continues to raise. Looks like ByuN Neo-Steel armor and then high-sec auto-tracking queued up after it. The turret range and planetary range, which is... well, the planetary is just a big turret, so... Stalkers working their way through on the left side, center of the map. Liberators have annexed a lot of Nightmare's third base. The ground army and the Templar are gonna struggle to get close, but the mass carrier, well, the battle begins. Shield battery overcharge, doing its best here, but there's a whole lot to deal with. Disruptor shots curve around, but not even remotely close to the ground army. Stalkers actually working their way through a lot of the turret line. Both players max out, but without much in the bank quite yet. The next fight could decide who has momentum going forward, if not the game. Neither player can afford a significant loss. At least not yet. ByuN has... well, no, it's about even. Well, the Disruptors, nowhere to be seen. While the carriers unleash their interceptors, a lot of them going down to Storm as well. So, overall, just wiped out of the sky. How many are left? He's at 50 for 8. So 8 per carrier. That should be 60 for interceptors when they're at a full complement. But this many Vikings. There's now 17 Vikings on the field. At least half a dozen Liberators starting to carve their way through the ground army. It looks like ByuN has smoothly transitioned into an anti-carrier army. Wiping out one. Disruptors trying to zone away the ground. The Storm's a historical counter to Vikings, but not quite enough here. Another Ruptor shot. ByuN has some of his units stuck in the medevacs. Pushing up with the Liberators. This fight becoming quite decisive, but it's unclear which player comes out on top. Both sides committing almost everything, and ByuN is going to be driven back at the end of the day. Nightmare down to 130 supply, though. Oh my god, so many ghosts being murdered on the way out. It ended up being the ground army that made the difference here. The Neo-Steel Planetary is going to be a bit too much. The ground army, though, cleared out many of the Liberators and was able to chase down, well, you heard those ghosts dying so dramatically, as they have a penchant to do. High-sec auto-tracking now done, as well as infantry armor level 3. These choke points are absolutely asphyxiating. A single Ruptor could make all the difference. Targeted down. The Stalkers got to be careful not to close too closely. A pylon is blocking the bottom right. As ByuN continues to maintain, he maintains a significant supply lead. But Nightmare has handled himself well. He's kept it together. The carriers have done their job of forcing out a ton of anti-air. Ooh, the planetary. A tank behind, helping out a lot. Nightmare now taking one of the valuable gold bases. ByuN, I neglected to mention, has been mining from that right side. It looks like he hasn't been here long, but does have a planetary at the gold. And is dragging those minerals out. The income has been in ByuN's favor, though not by particularly much, for the last 4 or 5 minutes. Liberators gonna eat so many hits, those stalkers, as they try to clear them out. The overlapping, the Venn diagram of freedom, just cutting down stalkers. They also have +3 ship weapons, so those stalkers have a lot of trouble surviving. With an EMP, it only takes 1 hit for the Liberators to take out the stalkers from afar. The Liberator count is so damn high. He's at 8 of them, even with all the pickoffs here. Still a couple carriers intact from the last battle. He hasn't replaced them with anything. No Tempest yet. Disruptor shot. He tries to split, but gets kind of caught in the corner there. And the Disruptor actually ends up finding a chunk of the ground army. Though, them themselves will get zoned out by the Liberators. Nightmare struggling to keep above 150 supply while ByuN is continuing to be maxed out. He's still sitting at 200. He's got 3K in the bank, though only 1,000 gas. Nightmare desperate to take out these Liberators, but the ground army is enough to zone out the Stalkers for now. More Templar coming in, looking for a storm opportunity. Catches a handful of the Liberators, gets a few more in an awkward position. Ghost's gonna go down. Liberator's repositioning, but vulnerable during that time. In come a couple more Archons, more EMPs. Liberator's in full retreat right now. Disruptor's not able to find a target, but if he ever gets close enough. Nightmare really struggling. There's still that Liberator in the top corner, though it doesn't seem like it's quite in range to hit anything. 5 Liberators at a time. Just an obscene amount of liberation in hand right now. ByuN picks up. Gonna try to split the army. He hasn't been able to lay down the killing blow quite yet. It feels like Nightmare has been stuck in kind of an awkward spot where he's been unable to put enough army on the field to really pressure any of ByuN's bases, but at the same time has been controlling it outside of the bases so well that ByuN can't really find the decisive fight. Even that fight where it looked like ByuN quote-unquote won, Nightmare ended up cleaning up the field. Oh, the DTs tried for a blanket on the gold. Instead gets scanned and gunned down. So not the ideal outcome for those Dark Templar. More storms. Picking off the edges of the Liberators, but with EMP and the Liberation Zones, more than enough to drive it back for now. ByuN, those Liberators over a screen away. A real struggle to dislodge the active, a thorny turtle Terran here. He's putting spikes on his shell and ramming them into Nightmare. But it is a turtle Terran nonetheless, as ByuN just locks down his bases and says, come and get me. As Nightmare has been trying to do just that. Liberators looking for an opportunity. Right side. The gold base is almost mined out at this point. It goes so quick. It has those mineral patches have the same amount of minerals, they just mine faster. So, taking advantage of that. One more carrier left. Nightmare tried the carriers. He did not. He understands. Carriers are a rich man's unit. Where you continue to... It's not just the cost of the carrier. You have to continue rebuilding those interceptors, which are not free. 15 minerals apiece. And neither are probes. 50 minerals apiece. Yes, I'm good at math. Or at least counting. Or at least reading numbers. There. We'll downgrade. Gets the Nexus. Gonna take a bunch of the Gateway Army. The Archon coming up, though. It looks like Nightmare may clean this up, but at what cost? Loses another chunk. More ghosts dying. So many ghosts dying. How many ghosts this game? 36 of them. To 9 Disruptors and 20 High Templar. And several Archons, which, came from those High Templar. ByuN had 5,000 minerals, but kind of hurting for gas. He's mined about 2,000 less with a similar amount of bases, though, which just means he wasn't mining the gas at his bases quite as early. Nightmare, on the other hand, has a Protoss, knows to focus on it. But the fact that he has only 1,000 gas in the bank and he's not maxed out does not bode well as time goes on. We're looking for more great storms. Stalkers trying to come in. One thing Nightmare hasn't really attempted is Tempests, which are many times used to dislodge the ranged Liberators. Whoa, a wave of EMPs hits all the Templar. Archons, desperate, not enough. And this angle here, right around the little apartment complex, has made it so difficult for the Disruptors to close the distance. And without the Disruptors, dealing with a critical mass of bio units is nearly impossible. Finally, they make their way up, might kill one of ByuN's many command centers, some DTs on the back line, a bit of a desperation Templar play, as Liberators will zone them out for now. ByuN ends up losing a command center, a location that Nightmare really does want to mine from before this is all said and done, but ByuN holding the line. Continuing. ByuN has not really given up any bases that he couldn't afford to lose. He might pull back for a few moments, but every time he comes back and he takes a more cost-effective fight, he's lost 4,000 less minerals and 3,000 less gas, and he's had access to more resources throughout most of this. The Disruptors, terrestrially bound. The Storms, the map Templar have been very good for Nightmare. And I think they're what's keeping him in the game so far. Just constantly washing the army with Storms. The moment ByuN looks away. But even with a few DTs, even with these amazing Storms, it's still been a almost literal, in many cases, uphill battle for the Korean Protoss. And Nightmare right now in a position much resembling his own name, as ByuN is maxed out perpetually with the right army to beat all but the most determined Protoss. He's got 10 Ghosts, 10 Liberators, 21 Marauders, a smattering of Marines and Vikings. And here comes Nightmare. He's finally brought the Disruptors in towards the production line. This is his best opportunity. This is his shot to really do damage here. Blinks in. Disruptor shot. The Marauder count is so damn high. Fade away. Finds nothing. Another one. Decent chunk of Marauders caught in the blast. The carrier that has survived for so long, its shield stripped away. Its health cannot be repaired. A Liberator is zoning out one of the bases. Nightmare trying to find the Disruptor. Oh, the hero carrier finally goes down. But ByuN is just running over the map. Nightmare unable to compete. He's done such a great job of picking off small parts of the army. Oh, watch out! No, the Disruptors firing from the wrong angle. Liberators trying to cover the mineral line, but the Stalker's taking some advantage of it. Blunking underneath. Looking for a little bit more. We'll find it. Another round of EMP. Disruptors. Fires a volley. An axe. But ByuN is at almost double the supply now. Covering his bases, literally and figuratively, with those Liberators. Nightmare unable to mine from the lucrative gold. And, well, the momentum has been in ByuN's favor for quite a while. It looks like a textbook dismantling from Micro Jackson. Nightmare unleashes the Storms and the Marauders just wade through it. There's just never enough. A day late and a Disruptor short is Nightmare. Has to fire at point-blank Marauders, eventually cleans him up. A strong fight. A great effort, but he's building probes, like, it's not enough. There's 8 orbitals, near unlimited scans. ByuN Has all the tools. He's got the speed vacs. He's building more barracks. He's gonna have... Oh, I guess he lost a few, but... The Zealots will eventually be picked apart by the Liberator, even getting some of these. Those are minerals he's not gonna get back. Nightmare might not realize exactly how dire the situation is. Fires a volley. Fires more. Oh. That's just... He picks up, dodges the Ruptors, drops back on top of them. A hard-fought battle by Nightmare, but ByuN has maintained control of the situation. I think ever since he scanned the Stargates, he's shown what to do. If your opponent gives you space, you take it. And while you might loosen your grip, you come back even harder. ByuN with an execution of Nightmare there. And yes, I think there were points where Nightmare could have turned it around. And maybe a more tenacious player could have found those opportunities. But ByuN never let up. And he claims victory after over 30 minutes of back and forth. A hard-fought battle that I hope you enjoyed. Thank you to Wardy for putting on these tournaments as always. Thank you for watching. I hope I made your day a little bit better. Like, subscribe, all that. Good luck, have fun. See you next time. Stay chill.